How's it going, hockey fans? Hope you're all doing well today. Welcome to the Hockey Stop, your source for all hockey news, hockey opinions, and hockey highlights. So in today's video, we're talking about the matchup between the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Rangers in the qualifying rounds. So it's a great matchup, and I think it's going to be one of the better ones, for sure, in terms of just the evenness between the two teams and the fact that this could definitely go to 5 games. In this video, I want to talk about the goaltending matchups, the defensive matchups, the offensive matchups, compare all three, and discuss who I think will win this series. So we start off with goaltending. Mrazek and Reimer is the tandem for the Carolina Hurricanes. Mrazek played some more starts, but it kind of seemed like Reimer had some better games. If you were to ask me, I'd probably say just based on experience, just based on the starting role that, between the two players on the team, I think Mrazek probably does get the start, but it could be one or the other, and it could be even a little split. You don't want to go back and forth between goaltenders in a series, but I think this is one of those opportunities where maybe Carolina does consider that, getting to rest your goalies. And you do have, two pretty solid goaltenders, definitely not some of the top talent in the league, but they're not bad. And I feel like it's a pretty solid tandem to go into. The Rangers have a lot of options, and I think, you absolutely give the edge, not even just the edge, but the landslide for the Rangers with goaltending. They have Shesterkin, Georgiev, and Lundqvist to work with. I think it probably is a battle between Shesterkin and Georgiev, and I kind of expect Shesterkin to get this start for the Rangers. He played fantastic this season. He doesn't have, much NHL experience. He didn't play much more than just a handful of games with the Rangers, but he looked fantastic in almost every start he played. Very calm with the puck, very cool, collective, great positioning. Hard to beat the guy, and he has the potential to be a really strong starter for the Rangers. For many years to come, it looks like he's kind of the future for them over Georgiev. But, Georgiev still had a pretty solid season, and, definitely played a larger bulk of games, and it wasn't just his first NHL season. And then of course Lundqvist, sure, he's getting older, but he has so much playoff experience. He's one of the clutchest goaltenders in recent history, and you got a lot of options here. I don't think they start Lundqvist just because he is getting older. He's shown some aggressions, and while he is a playoff performer, I don't know if he's quite the level compared to where Shesterkin and Georgiev are right now. I would say Shesterkin probably gets the start, and the Rangers are just a lot better goaltending-wise compared to the Carolina Hurricanes, and they absolutely get an edge. Because I would rather any of these three goaltenders as my starter over Mrazek or Reimer. So, big edge for the Rangers in this department. Next up, we got offense. The Rangers have a lot of offensive depth, and they've really improved the situation for themselves. Especially, it's kind of surprising because they did depart, a lot of, their young players, of course, from trade deadlines like JT Miller and Zuccarello in the past trade deadline, and over the past couple of years they've been losing some of their better players, and despite that they've massively, honestly, almost improved in their offensive capabilities just because of the incredible Panarin signing and just what he's produced for this team this past year. He wasn't considered, we'll see if he gets considered for the Hart trophy, and I think he definitely should be considered as one of the top 3. He was considered a top 3 for Ted Lindsay, but this guy was potentially the most impactful player for a team, for any of the teams in the NHL, and that's what the Hart's all about, the MVP of your team, and he was the MVP of the New York Rangers, producing at an incredibly high level. So many fantastic shots on goal all the way through, lots of goals, lots of assists, and he's just a guy that they rely on every single game. And, a big boost of offense for the Rangers because of that. Zibanejad, he did, have a few games off because of injuries, but when he was on, he played fantastic. Over 40 goals in less than 60 games is incredible in the NHL, a humongous boost for him. And they also got Kreider, they were able to re-sign him, which kind of surprised me. I kind of thought maybe he would get departed in, the trade deadline, but he's still with them, another very quality offensive forward, winger for this team, pretty physical also. That's the top 3 you're rocking with for the Rangers. But they got some solid depth also. You got the young depth, Kaapo Kakko didn't produce quite to the level that, Rangers fans are hoping, but, he's getting better and better, and I think he could definitely have a pretty good series. You got Brendan Lemieux. He's not the most offensive capability. He doesn't have the best offensive capabilities, but still a solid depth guy to have. Of course, you got Buchnevich, a fantastic young winger for this team. You got Ryan Strome, who has been really good for the Rangers, this season. Of course, he's, received some help, playing with, quality talent like Panarin. But when you consider what they gave up to acquire this guy in the trade with the Oilers, it was a big steal to get Ryan Strome, and he's been a really solid center for this team too. So they got a lot of offensive depth, and they're pretty strong in that department. Look at the Carolina Hurricanes. Of course, they got Aho, #1 center, really quality talent for Finland. You got Teuvo Teravainen, another big guy who is widely underrated. They really stole Teuvo Teravainen in the trade with Chicago when they acquired him, when they took on like Bickle's contract, and they just gave it like a couple, I think it was like a second and a third round pick that went to Chicago, and he's one of, in my opinion, not quite the premier wingers in the league, but he's definitely, I would say maybe like a step lower than that, but he's still a fantastic player, and he's a borderline star in this league, and he just does not get the credit that he deserves. Of course, you also got the young Svechnikov getting better and better each game, and this guy is going to be one of the top wingers in the NHL without a doubt when he hits his prime, but he's already at a very high level. Chicago does, the Carolina Hurricanes also do have some depth. Of course, they got the young Nakash, in his rookie season he's been playing pretty well. They got like Jordan Staal, pretty solid veteran. But when you compare the two offenses, New York just has a more explosive offense. I think just those three big guys, Panarin and Zibanejad and Kreider, I rate them much higher than, I would say, the big three for Carolina and Aho, Teravainen, and Svechnikov. Those three are very good, but I think the Rangers just have an even higher step up with those three. So I give another lead for New York, especially because they have, I would say, even a bit more depth offensively. So I'm talking about goaltending, I'm talking about offense. It looks like it all goes in favor of the Rangers, and you would think, along with the fact that they won all 4 games against Carolina in the regular season, this should be a landslide, right? Wrong. And the defense of Carolina versus the defense of New York is why this is going to be a very competitive series and why it could very well be very close. The Carolina Hurricanes defense is very strong. It's led by Dougie Hamilton, the giant, beast of a defenseman who also has incredible offensive capabilities. And they got, Slavin, who is a very strong defenseman, can play in all situations. They added Vatanen and Brady Shea, former New York defenseman, on this roster. Vatanen was struggling with injury before, but now he's had these months to rest. He probably should be in the roster. And then Brady Shea, he wasn't having the best season with New York, but I think with the new system, and just he's more of a depth role with Carolina. He can definitely fit in pretty well. Of course, they got Edmondson also from the Blues, and pretty fantastic, defenseman too. Pretty good defensive capabilities. He can chip in some offense, and yeah, I mean, they got a lot of depth defensively. They also have Jake Gardiner, who I'm not the biggest fan of, but again, he's going to be given a smaller role. Yeah, this guy, the Carolina Hurricanes are overwhelmingly, flowing with strong defense, both offensively and defensively. Looking at the Rangers, it's a bit of a different conversation. The Rangers have Jacob Trouba, supposed to make a really big impact with the Rangers this season. It hasn't been quite the fairy tale story with him. It definitely has not been chipping in offensively as much as he wanted to, and his defense has struggled. But a big plus for the Rangers this season was Adam Fox. Fantastic offensively, but he also seems to be a very smart defenseman. And to already, provide, solid defensive play in his rookie season in the NHL, it's harder for defensemen prospects to develop. So that's very promising for the Rangers. Also, their young Lindgren has been very good defensively, so it's not like they're without good defensemen, but the depth just isn't quite there. They got Tony DeAngelo, who is a monster offensively, but just does not get very good defensively. They got, of course, Mark Stahl, who is the veteran, pretty big guy, but, and I guess he was on the right side of the plus minus situation this year, which is impressive for, a Rangers defenseman, but he just hasn't really been that good these past few seasons, in my opinion. I feel like there's just a lot more that you'd want from Mark Stahl. I mean, again, this guy isn't, going to put up too many points for you, but I feel like also defensively, there's just been, a lot of turnovers that I've noticed when I've watched him play, and there's just more that you would want. And then, of course, they got, Libor Hayek, who, he's all right. Is more of a depth guy, but defensively wise, I think Carolina just absolutely, pushes away the Rangers in this way, with Hamilton, Slavin, additions of Vatanen and Shea. You got Edmondson, Gardiner. I mean, there's just a lot of strength, both in their top defensemen and their depth. So I give them the absolute one up against the Rangers for that department. So we looked at all 3 departments, and you also have to consider the regular season. Rangers did win all 4 games against Carolina. Regular season is a much different game than the playoffs, so you can't keep that too much in consideration, but it is also something to consider. And it's one of the big reasons why I think the Rangers probably take this series in 5 games. I think it's going to be a very close series. I think with the defense of Carolina, it should really help, their situation, goaltending-wise, because it's not the strongest. Whereas the strong goaltenders of the Rangers are going to be facing a lot more shots. Carolina shoots a lot of pucks, in their opposing team's nets. They shoot hard, they shoot often, and there's going to be a lot of pucks coming, Shesterkin's way, or Georgiev's way, or maybe even Lundqvist if they end up making that choice. But I think it's going to be very even for sure. And I just have to give it to the Rangers because I think, their offense is just really incredible. Their goaltending should be able to shut down, a lot of those shots that they'll be facing because of their subpar defense. And they just played the Carolina Hurricanes very well in the regular season. Also, Carolina, it kind of seems like in the playoffs, they really rely on home ice advantage. Last season, they, in their first round against Washington, all the games that they were winning were at home and not in Washington. They finally won their first road game in Game 7 because they had to go on to the next round. They're a lot better at home, and they're not going to be given that experience because they're going to be in more of a neutral setting without fans. So I think just considering everything, it's going to be a 5-game series in favor of the Rangers, but I could see it also being a 5-game series in favor of the Carolina Hurricanes because it is a very even matchup. But I just have to give the edge to the Rangers based on their better goaltending, their prolific offense, and just the way that they matched up with the Carolina Hurricanes in the regular season. But it could go both ways. I'm really excited for this series, and I think it's going to be a very fun one. So definitely stay tuned for this one. And yeah, we're starting up August 1st. Super excited to watch some hockey again. And yeah, got to be a little patient. There's actually going to be some little exhibition games going on the few days before the playoffs start. So I think the start date is like the 28th of July. So it's all coming up soon. Let's get excited. And hockey is coming back. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And thanks so much for watching.